In recent interview with Ben Johnson he talked a lot about what he plans to do next year. And it's just so nice. Can we just say that at the top of this video? To have Ben Johnson back in the fold, to have the confidence in the coaching staff. We're running it all back. We're running it all back outside of Deuce Staley, but Scotty Montgomery seems to be a good hire. Got another video on that, how it looked like we were going to lose Scotty after we had him for only like 5 days. So I'm really glad to keep him. But in this video, I want to talk about Ben Johnson's plan to improve Jared Goff. And I really am intrigued to hear what Ben Johnson's plan is with Goff, because it feels like Goff is what Goff is. That's what we've always said. I mean, he's this guy. He's not that mobile, but he's really accurate when he has time, when he's not pressured. But last year, he started showing that he could be a better pocket technician. And when he was better in the pocket, he showed that he could find a way to just kind of move around. I don't want to say it wasn't Tom Brady-esque in the pocket. It wasn't. He just stopped backing up and backing up and backing up and backing up and backing up. Right? I mean, he started stepping up in the pocket. So maybe it's little things like that Ben Johnson has. But there was an article written about this, so I'm going to share it with all of you. Let's add this to the stream, and let's just talk about it. He wants to improve the Lions' offense and improve Jared Goff. They talked about how a significant chunk of our improved offense this year, going from 19.1 points per game to 26.6. Oh my goodness. From being the 25th best offense to the 5th most productive. Are you kidding me? That is such a huge change. And a significant chunk of that can be attributed to the Lions offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson's strong rapport with the Detroit signal caller, Jared Goff. All right. This was Johnson's first full season of calling plays. We know that. We don't need all this. All right. And here's what he said. We saw him make tremendous growth from the end of last year through training camp. Johnson said of Goff and the Tim 20 men on the in the Huddle podcast on Wednesday. During the bye week, we dove into how he could improve as a player, and I thought we saw dividends in the second half of the season. Here's the thing. If you remember and you go back to last year, the same thing happened when Dan Campbell stepped in and called the plays. That last 6 games or so, Goff was vastly improved. Now it was Johnson's first year as a signal caller. Goff was good. He was fine the first half of the year. We all thought he was going to be gone because he wasn't. I mean, I said he was fine. He wasn't good. Like the offense was doing well, but I almost feel like it was in spite of Goff. And then in the second half of the year, the offense was doing well because of Goff. And so he had that jump. He had that. It was just different. And you saw him making different decisions. He looked confident in his reads. He looked confident in where he was going. And I think a lot of that can be attributed just simply to, oh, yeah, well, now he's got a play caller that he trusts that's in the same boat as him. And so they started understanding each other. He completely got so much better. All right. So here's what Johnson said. The good news is this: when Goff comes back in the building, we're going to have another plan of action for him to take another few steps forward, where he can continue to progress to an even better player than he was this past year. So in other words, we're not starting over again. It's not a new coordinator. It's not a new system. It's just adding to it. That's the exciting thing. And knowing him, he's going to embrace it and run with it. Oh my goodness. Can we just pause for a second and talk about the difference between the rapport between Jared Goff and Ben Johnson and what was Jared Goff with Sean McVay? It was an absolute clown car disaster of a wreck his last year, even 2 years in LA. It was really bad. And then all of a sudden, we've got Ben Johnson come in here. And by the way, it was really bad before Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell started taking over as play callers too. It was really bad before that. And so Jared Goff, it's like, oh my goodness, best offensive mind in football. Can't get along with him. Then he comes in here, struggles. The coordinator clearly didn't want to work with him. And then all of a sudden you have Ben Johnson just gushing about this guy, talking about how good he is, talking about how excited he is, talking about how willing he is to work with the coaching staff and grow and get better. And it's like, man, oh man, they just get each other. Jared Goff has talked about how when Ben Johnson's calling the plays, Jared Goff doesn't even have to think about it. He knows exactly why he's doing it, where he's going, what the next play call is going to be. These two just have a really good rapport with each other. But he went on to talk about what makes an offense better and that much a quarterback. He said, we just finished going through the run game last week. And I think at the end of it, you look at it and you're like, holy cow, how much better can we really become? And it's across the board. It's not just one position group, Johnson said. It's the running backs. If we just tweak this or we ask them to do this just a little bit more or a little bit different, or with the offensive line, if this technique is just a little bit different, it all adds up. And I think the staff certainly sees it, and it's just the challenge of getting the players back in and learning from what we put on tape last year to take the next step. So the next level of Jared Goff's progression, sure, Goff has to do his things. He's going to learn things like stepping up in the pocket, moving around in the pocket, learning not to panic so much, trusting his offensive line under pressure, holding in there. But then you have the offense around him. And I think sometimes we forget how young the offense around him is. You had a third-year running back. You had a second-year wide receiver was your best wide receiver. You had a rookie wide receiver that wasn't even playing until the back half of the year, back third of the year. You had an offensive line that was pretty good, but one of your anchors was a second-year tackle and a rotating guard position. So there is a lot of room for improvement even on the offensive line. Even if you figure Decker stays the same, Ragnow stays the same, everybody else based on the stage in their career should improve. Outside of Jamal Williams, he should stay the same, but he improved this year. So you look at all those things and all of a sudden you start realizing like, wow, this is pretty good. And then Ben Johnson just added to that by saying the secret sauce to improving the offense is really teaching and executing just a little better than we did a year ago. Just a little better than a year ago. When you have the fifth best offense in the NFL, and there's going to be talent added to this team. If you have the fifth best offense in the NFL, he's right. The secret is just do what you were doing a little bit better. Execute a little bit better. Everybody gets more comfortable with each other. And the offense should continue to be better and better and better. The offensive line has a better understanding of what Jared Goff's planning on doing back there. Right? He's not a very complicated quarterback. He's not going to go too nuts. You know how the running backs want things blocked for him. The wide receivers will be in more lockstep of where to run a route, where to cut it off, where to move, where they should place themselves in a zone defense versus a man. They know where Jared Goff's going to throw it. Chark was talking about that. St. Brown was talking about that. And Chark was big on that. By the end of the year, he was like, after I got done with the injury and I came back and I was able to practice and play a little bit more, then I knew where Jared Goff was going with the football. Like as soon as I made my cut, I knew where the ball was going to be. And that's that accuracy we talk about with Goff. That's so good. And developing that rapport with the players, phenomenal. That's why him and Reynolds always did so good. So hopefully you can bring a lot of these guys back, continue the good rapport. Everybody just does everything a little bit better. All right. So what do you think? Is Goff? I mean, is there another 400 or 500 yards in it this year? More touchdowns? Like, is he going to regress or is he going to continue to improve? What's your thoughts on Goff? Are you loving him now? I know you weren't. I know you weren't at the beginning of this year. I know you weren't by game 7 or 8, but are you now? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And hit that subscribe button for the channel. We love these videos. We love getting them out to you. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.